Hello there, welcome to my review of the Rockford Files Season 1, Episode 8, Find Me If You Can. Written by Juanita Bartlett and Roy Huggins and directed by Lawrence Downey. The episode begins with a dog wandering past Jim's trailer as a yellow cab pulls up and a young woman looks nervously towards the trailer. Inside, Jim is on the phone trying to get out of a sticky situation with his bank and a bad check he sent in.
You just drop it behind a computer for an hour or two and give me a chance to cover it.
Clearly, selling all the paintings in the previous episode didn't go that well. The woman knocks on his trailer door and wants to hire Jim on a missing persons case. She tells him her name is Florence Baker and she wants to hire him to find her. Or more precisely, she wants to hire him to see if she can be found by him or others who may wish to do her harm. Florence Baker isn't her real name, she doesn't have a car, and she plans on using a lot of public transport to make herself impossible to find. It's pretty clear from the phone call that begins the scene that Jim wouldn't be taking this screwy case if he wasn't short of cash. Not because it might be dangerous, but because it's weird. His first stop is with Becca. When Jim offered her a drink at his trailer, he wasn't just being polite, he used the glass she drank from to lift her fingerprints. We haven't seen Becca since episode 3, so this is a welcome return for him. Dennis finesses some Laker tickets out of Jim before he tells him the cops have nothing on his mystery woman, but he was able to get her details from her driving license.
Both tickets?
This is a playful reintroduction to Dennis, which for new audiences or ones with short memories establishes him as Jim's friend, but also not above a quid pro quo. It's a simple scene that manages to give us a lot of character depth, as well as driving the story along. Jim then goes to see the mystery woman at a prearranged meeting and tells her all he's discovered.
Your name is Barbara Baker. You were born in Pacific Grove, California, August the 13th, 1949.
He's ready to quit, as he's found this information in less than a day, and Barbara refuses to tell him why she's doing this, but she convinces him to stay on, as he hasn't actually found where she is, which is what she's really testing, and she's doing it because she's scared. With Jim checking with the police station near her home, and discovering that the desk cop went to school with Barbara, and he's concerned about the company she keeps, particularly one Ralph Corral. He then goes to Denver to see Corral, or at least tries to, and being both stubborn and resourceful, he manages to con his way into Corral's penthouse.
Next car, please. What the?
Corral is played by Paul Michael Glazer, just a year before he would go on to star in Starsky and Hutch, and he's not a man to be trifled with.
I'm going to give you exactly 30 seconds to let me out of here. 30 seconds from now.
As Jim hits a brick wall of information. He does come to the conclusion that Corral is mobbed up, and is not best pleased with Barbara for getting him in deep with a connected guy.
I don't like being used that way, particularly when I seem to be the only one who doesn't know what's going on.
On the face of it, this episode seems to not have a great deal to it. The central mystery of who this woman is and why she's hired Jim is not quite strong enough to carry the whole story, and at first I was thinking it would be a lot easier if Jim just gave up, particularly when he finds out about the mob connection. But what does keep your attention is watching how Rockford operates, how he gets each piece of new information, and how he uses it to get more information. By this point in the story, though, it seems to be largely concluded, despite Barbara's assertion that he stay on the case. This shifts, however, when two supposed FBI agents show up at Jim's trailer, and after spotting their phony, they work him over and take him to Ralph Corral. Corral claims Barbara stole $50,000 from him and he is trying to find her. He believes Jim's story about being hired by Barbara to find Barbara and lets him go. Eventually, Barbara calls Jim and says she didn't steal the money, she just took what belonged to her, and tells him to walk away.
Look, whatever money's left, it's yours. I know it won't make up for what happened to you, but I want you to have it.
She calls again sometime later from the Mexican border. She's booked a room for him in San Diego, leaving him in not the best of moods.
Barbara.
Barbara!
It's difficult to tell if he's angry because he doesn't know what's going on, or because she's doing all this on her own when he could have been helping. But from what we've seen of his character so far, it's likely the latter. It's not that he has to control these situations, but in these situations he knows he would rather be the one taking all the risks and might be able to come up with a safer solution than she has. Regardless, he heads to San Diego and soon ditches the tail by Carell's goons.
There's been an accident on the other side. You want to drive over and see if you can help? I'll run and get an ambulance.
And when he does meet Barbara again, she does explain the whole situation. She didn't know Carell was mobbed up when they met, and she fled when she witnessed Carell murder someone. Jim explains that by hiring him, she put a target on her own back and tells her she needs to go to the authorities. He goes to see the Denver DA, who, after a long wait, reveals that someone has already confessed to the murder that Barbara says she witnessed Carell commit. Confused by this, Rockford returns to the motel to find Barbara missing. He confronts Carell and demands to see Barbara.
All right, don't make a sound. And don't try yelling for one of your gorillas.
Garner is particularly fierce in these scenes, and the normally affable, allergic to pain Rockford has gone. Not because he has the upper hand, although he does, but because he's furious.
Where is she?
You're not gonna shoot.
You don't have to work so hard, Carell. I've been looking for a reason to pump one into you.
Carell takes him to see Barbara at one of his warehouses, but it's a trap. With the tables turned, we discover that Carell does have genuine feelings for Barbara.
It's not the way I wanted. Why didn't she keep running?
But as he leads her and Jim outside to finish them off, the cops show up just in time. In the epilogue, Barbara reveals she plans to return the $50,000 she stole, meaning she can't afford to pay Jim the rest of his fee, which he's not thrilled with.
But you're an honest man. You wouldn't want that kind of money, would you?
Yeah, I would.
This is a strange episode. A small story with some early intrigue, but the second half is not nearly as strong as the first, and it feels like the meeting with the DA is there just to pad out the runtime. I think the issue lies with the structure of the story, as Barbara and Carell both know exactly what's going on, leaving only Rockford in the dark, which means at some point Barbara is going to have to reveal the rest of the mystery, which she invariably does. The fact that she's ever present throughout the episode means the jeopardy is fairly low, to the point where, when she did disappear, I wasn't sure if Carell had found her or if she had just made a run for it on her own, and was surprised that Jim was so certain that Carell had taken her and was correct. I felt like it lacked some sort of twist just to throw the audience or Rockford off, but one never came, and it lacked the necessary character development for Barbara to give her a satisfactory arc. It's not a bad story by any means, but it didn't quite have the spark that we've seen in other episodes up to this point, and so felt a little bland. Even the scene Jim has with Rocky felt perfunctory. For me, this was an average episode that didn't really live up to the promise of the opening, so it's a 3 out of 5. Thank you, Goodbye.